Step back, Jay. Harden. Bullseye.
Sixers looking very focused in the second half. Maxey looking for more. He's got it!
Daniel House, little up and under on the lob, and then flies in with the emphatic one-hand jam.
Niang looking for more from outside. Bang, bang, George Niang!
Joel, the process heavy.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Pick Swap Podcast. It is Friday, early evening here, and stop me if you've heard this one before. The Sixers lose a disappointing playoff game at home. So it's me and Sean Barnard as usual. Sean, I know you're fighting through some pain right now, but we know how important this is, so we're glad to have you here. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm coming off getting 2 teeth pulled as of a couple hours ago, so fresh off some anesthesia, fresh off whatever. But you know what? It's the playoffs. This is that time of year. Got to play through the pain, and I would argue I might be showing more heart right now than any Sixers players on the floor last night. So,
Yeah,
hate to see it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, man. Disappointing one last night. The Sixers lose Game 6, and just like I don't know, just like the worst game imaginable. I feel nobody really played particularly well. A lot of people played particularly poorly. And the Celtics come away with in a potential closeout game, the Celtics win in Philadelphia in Game 6, head back to Boston for Game 7 on Sunday. Definitely have a lot to talk about, a lot of people to discuss, a lot of future things that could happen following this series. But for now, we'll just kind of recap what Game 6 had. Just kind of talk me through what with the Sixers, just generally talk about that game for me.
Yeah, I thought they came out a little flat. It didn't feel like that locked in killer instinct performance that we were hoping for of them ready to end the series tonight. They shot the ball incredibly poorly, which to me is the biggest reason for the loss. I mean, on the game as a whole, 30 of 83 from the field, just 36.1% there, 8 of 34 from 3, 23.5% there. And those are on good looks too. There were a lot of open opportunities that just did not fall. The tone of this game is definitely a whole lot different if a couple DeAnthony Melton three-pointers go the right way or any other guy that had the opportunity. So that part was frustrating. I didn't think they played terrible, but there still wasn't that strong desire. Joel Embiid didn't fully have it. He looked out of gas by the end, and it felt like he was just pushing through, trying to make an impact throughout. James Harden wasn't the A-plus version of James Harden that we've seen for games. He was a little bit better than the bad version of him that we've seen in the series as well, but he definitely was attacking, trying to get to the free throw line rather than attacking, trying to score. And that sometimes that spirals his game, as was sort of the case. Shout out Tyrese Maxey for stepping up and him for quite the performance. But overall, it just felt a little flat across the board.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Tyrese was kind of the motor all night, really the guy that kept the Sixers in that game for the majority of it. Tobias was ghosted for 2 points in 42 minutes of play. PJ, is what it is. I think he was 2 for 6 from 3. So, if you want to look at it that way, he hit 25% of the Sixers made 3-pointers in last night's game, which is not a very good sign for them just in general. Like you said, Sean, I think you can break this game down however you want. You can look at it a million different ways and try to make up something to rationalize that loss. They just didn't make shots. And I don't know what else to say about it. A lot of guys had a lot of different open looks, and really the only threes I remember going in were Niang's threes. He made 2, I believe. Maxey made a couple, and Tucker made a couple. Aside from that, James Harden had the one late shot clock one, but really that's it. So, you can't win a playoff game shooting 30% from the field, 24% from 3 or whatever it was. And at the end of the game, when you press and you're trying to get Joel Embiid the ball and trying to get shots at the rim, and they just have 2 bigs clogging the paint and no one can space the floor, that's the way it's going to go. So unfortunate the way that happens. They really had a chance to win that game. I don't know that we have to talk about Jason Tatum too much, just because it's not our forte here. He was terrible. And I've been unimpressed with him this entire series, and not to, pile on anything right now, but you got to capitalize on a game where he doesn't show up at all. And it sucked to see them lose that game, but where are you at right now? people are falling apart. And I know that
Yeah.
this is, this is what people do. Like, this is what Sixers fans do. And, it's kind of the situation right now. You're in a do or die game 7. And, historically it's been not falling our way in that sense, but people are losing their minds, man. And I don't know. Where are you at with it?
Yeah, I mean, there's been some ugly stuff on the timelines for sure. I see everybody falling apart, no doubt. I think I'm in a better headspace than that. To me, I'm not surprised to see this series be going 7 games. It sucks how it happens because it feels like the opportunity to end the series was absolutely there already. So we wish that it could have gone that way and that there was that killer instinct and the Sixers found a way to be chilling, preparing for the Eastern Conference Finals in a way that they have not been able to do since 2001. But you know what? That isn't the case. We're going to game 7. There is still one game to be played. There is a lot on the line for this game 7. To me, there's going to be some catastrophic changes depending on which side wins it. I think if the Celtics get sent home and the Sixers do get a win, I think the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown breakup starts to look more and more likely, and the buzz continues to swirl about that. If the Sixers do not find a way to win and they get sent packing, there's a lot that can happen. It could be the James Harden walking, Doc Rivers being fired, Tobias Harris getting traded. There's a ton of a lot that I expect to happen, and that's not even to mention all the role players around the edges that are free agents, the Georges Niangs, the Paul Reeds, the Shake Miltons. There's a lot of guys that there's going to be some notable changes at the conclusion of this year for sure. Things I think the outlook of are going to be very different depending on how that game 7 does. So I'm still locked in, still prepared for that. But there is this is probably game 7 will be the biggest Sixers game that we've seen probably in our lifetimes.
Yeah, I agree with you. No doubt about that. There seems like there's a lot of implications just, beyond that game. But I don't know how to say this without I don't know how to describe it in the right way, but this is basketball, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're just figuring out that series sometimes go 7 and the other team does also want to win these games. And if you look at this from Boston's perspective, it's they lost at home in game 1 when the Sixers didn't have Joel Embiid. They blew a lead, in game 4. I don't know. I just don't get why people obviously, yes, last night, they had the chance to win. They could and should have won had they shot better, had things fallen their way. Absolutely. But this is how basketball goes, man. It's the playoffs. These series are meant to be 7 for a reason. The Boston Celtics are the best remaining seed in the entire NBA. The Sixers are right there with them. As much as the Sixers want to win and are trying to do their best and, had a chance to win it at home, they didn't. But if you're waking up today being scrap it, trade everyone, and B's going to request a trade, this is all over, blah, blah, blah. I wish I had a number in my head of how many people I muted on Twitter today. It's dude, it's just sad. It's just get out of here with that, man. It's game 7. Put up or shut up. Tyrese said it the best. If he wants to go to in a game 7 in enemy territory, you want to do it with this group. This is what they should be built for. I don't know. I feel obviously last night was super disappointing. I went to bed not feeling very great about it, but I woke up thinking dude, it's gone. It's gone. They've had their back against the wall. They faced a lot of adversity already. They have a chance to go do something awesome in Boston on Sunday. They have a chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. All they have to do is win one game. And I'm not saying that they're, I'm not guaranteeing a win or anything, but why can't they? What have we seen in this series? If they play their best basketball, they didn't play their best basketball and they were down by a possession in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
In game 3, exact same thing. When they play their best, they have gotten the better of the Celtics this entire series when they play their best basketball. So to me, it seems like you got to handle your business on Sunday. And if you do that, you'll come out on top. So I don't know. Maybe I'm too optimistic. I know that this is a theme consistently that you and I have gone through is maybe I am a little bit too over my head with that kind of stuff. But I feel obviously not great about the situation, but I'm optimistic still.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go as far as this is. I will be in similar mindset if Sunday goes bad. I think Sunday, like I said, it's probably the biggest game of the Joel Embiid era, and this is an absolute legacy game for all of these guys. For Joel Embiid specifically, for James Harden, for Doc Rivers, for this era of the Sixers, and for Joel specifically, this is the run that he cannot let slip for granted. I get he's dealing with the knee stuff. To me, he looked more bothered by it than he has in the past couple games in last night's game, which was disappointing to see. He was terrific defensively. He was, it's tough to put into words just how much he impacted that game. He had 3 blocks in the stat sheet. He had one that was called a goaltend that also should have been, and another that they took away that I'm not sure what that was about. So he really had 5 is what it felt like live, and altered countless others. His impact around the rim was unbelievable. But offensively, he's still on it with 26 and 10. But he just got to be a little bit more aggressive. 20 shots or 19 shots is not enough for him. And he talked about after the game how he didn't touch the ball in the last 4 minutes. And it's like, well, dude, go get it. Go find a way to get that ball and make it your. This is the run that he truly can't let slip for his legacy, for the fate of this team, for all the naysayers that are ready for the blow, because it has taken a while, and that it is there on a silver platter that they win this series. We've got a favorable matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals, and all of a sudden we're looking at the most successful Sixers season throughout Joel Embiid's tenure and throughout the past 2 decades. So I just need to see that. And if he does not have that kind of motivation or momentum, I know he just looked gassed by the end of the game. I've seen some complaints about the body language, the effort, and I get it. I see it. But to me, he just looked gassed. I don't think he ever really had it in that game, and he just kind of grind away, and had an okay performance. A very good performance by a normal player standard, but not quite the sky-high Joel Embiid ability. But Sunday, it's got to be that. It's got to be the best basketball that he really has ever played. It's got to be him doing everything possible to win that game. And if I don't see that, I'm going to be pretty frustrated.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's fair, man. Like, you're definitely giving completely fair assessment there. Like, I don't disagree with you at all. I'm saying I think from our perspective, it's a lot easier to look at like this massive picture that we're all trying to paint as like, and Joel Embiid's legacy and the Sixers' legacy and all of these things that cultivate with all of these players and personalities coming together and the situation of all of these years of build up. Like, obviously I don't know any of these guys. I feel like safely assume that that's not what's on their mind right now. Like, I don't think Joel Embiid is going to this like, I got to give a legacy game here or else this is blah, blah, blah. Like, and that they have to go in there and win a basketball game. Like, that's number one thing. And I don't know. I'm just on the boat that like, I think they can do it. I've seen them do it multiple times this series, even when it seemed even less likely than, it has before. Like, if they're going to play this too big lineup, they have to hit 3-point shots. Like, really that simple. If Robert Williams if the Sixers are not going to miss jumpers and allow him to just sit at the block and wait for Embiid to drive, then he's going to struggle, because you can't just face 2 7-footers who all their attention is on you and succeed. Like, that's just not how it works. PJ Tucker's going to have to hit those threes. Anthony Melton's going to have to hit those threes. Like, they're going to have to capitalize on opportunities when they get them. They just have to be much better than they were in Game 6. But to me, when I look at it, they can be, and I don't know. I see it in my eyes. I see them having the chance to win this and doing something really cool. I think it's an opportunity for them to rip the heart out of Boston fans in the TD Garden for the 3rd time in the series, following a Bruins loss in the TD Garden. Like, that almost feels better to a degree. So I don't know. I'm excited for it. It's just, go ahead.
And to jump in on the Robert Williams thing, first off, little hat tip to Joe Mazzulla, because I didn't think this was going to work. I thought the Sixers match up better with Robert Williams on the floor, because he's not a guy that spaces the floor. And they do defensively. I do think this helped Joel, because Williams is not a threat outside. So Embiid's able to do the same thing where he protects the paint, sits in as a rim protector. And that did help the Sixers on that side of the floor. The Celtics, I don't think, played particularly well last night either, which makes it all the more frustrating. But the one I've kind of turned heel on Doc Rivers a little bit here, that I've never been the biggest Doc Rivers guy. I've been very happy with the stuff that he's done this season, and specifically these playoffs. This is far from a Doc Rivers loss last night, and I've seen a lot of that on the timeline too. The couple things that I will nitpick: you can't play PJ Tucker if they are going to play Robert Williams. That you just have to put a more legitimate 3-point shooting option, whether it is Anthony Melton playing 3 guards. Georges Niang has given good minutes, and if they're going to play that lineup, I think you can hide him a little bit. Niang, to his credit, knocked down 2 huge threes for the Sixers last night and has provided good minutes throughout this series. So that's something I think Doc should lean into more. Also, just the rotation stuff. You just got to give these guys a little more of a break. And I know it's the playoffs. I know you want to play your best players. I know you look around the NBA and we've got Jalen Brunson playing 48 minutes, Kevin Durant playing 48 minutes, all stuff like that. Joel Embiid and James Harden are not those types of players. They're just not, unfortunately. In an ideal world, they can do it. If Joel's not going to look like the best version of himself, by him playing 42 minutes last night. You got to give him his time to recover and time to be that. Like we saw him sub back in with 10.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He always comes into the 8-minute mark, and he looked dead for the last 2 minutes of the game. And I get it. In an ideal world, like he can play straight through that, but you got to get the best out of your players. And Tobias Harris playing 42 minutes and coming up with 2 points, 1 of 7 from the field. There's just got to be more than that. And to his credit, Tobias was excellent defensively last night. He had some really nice plays. He was a big part of why Tatum struggled as much as he did. But, dude, you just got to give us a little more. Shooting 1 3-point attempt just can't happen for him. That's a huge part of your role is you're a 3-and-D guy, essentially, at this point. So you got to get him off. You got to find a way to get opportunities. So there's just got to be more there. And once again, the bench has not looked good. So I don't blame Doc for not itching to get these guys in the game. But, you just got to save them. Let me see what Jalen McDaniels looks like for a little. Spread these minutes out and let's find a way to win is kind of how I feel. So I would like a little bit of a roster, a rotation adjustments for Game 7.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do. And I feel like it's very circumstantial with what Doc has been doing, and in a good way. Like he pulled the right strings and played Daniel House in Game 5, which turned out to be a fantastic move. And Niang was the right call last night, just with Robert Williams, and maybe it's not to start, but maybe it's an early pull for PJ and get a shooter in there so that you can space the floor a little bit more. And I liked that PJ was a little bit more open to shooting those threes. Like if he's going to be open, got to shoot him, right? And maybe he gets hot one of these nights. 2 for 7. I mean, it's not great, but it's better than the rest of the team did. And like you said, you got to shoot him if you're open. And if one of those guys ends up hitting a couple in a row, and Williams either has to start to peel out a little bit more to give Joel more space, or have to take him out as a whole, it's a win. So I feel like things just they didn't fall in the right direction last night. That really the jumpers didn't fall at all. I feel like Tyrese Maxey has figured out that he can be really effective, which is a huge win for the Sixers offensively. And hopefully in a Game 7, he has those opportunities. And I think I feel like he, out of anybody, he's built for this kind of thing. He's built for this game. I feel like, I don't look into trends at all, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I saw somebody broke it down. I forget who it was. Josh Reynolds, I believe it was, on Twitter, and he broke down the 7-game series that the Sixers have played before, and they lost Game 1, won Game 2 and 3, lost Game 4 and 5, won 6, and lost 7. Now in this series, they won Game 1, lost 2 and 3, won 4 and 5, lost 6, and now they go play 7. So I don't know, man. It's just it's the weird waves that things go on. It's a roller coaster. It's a playoff series. This is the way things go, right? So things fall in the Sixers' direction. Marcus Smart doesn't have 15, and dude, honestly, at this point, I'm more afraid of Malcolm Brogdon shooting the basketball than I am of Jason Tatum, which is an unbelievable revelation for us to be at this point. They're just those guys have just been frustrating, the Sixers entirely this series.
Yeah, I mean, Tatum stepped up when it mattered, though. He was the guy that, when all things are said and done, he ended with 4 3-pointers and all daggers in that last stretch of the fourth quarter with Maxey on him, whether it was the step back. He did his thing when it mattered most. He played very bad throughout the course of the game and has for most of this series. I'm still a Jaylen Brown as a more impactful player than Jason Tatum guy. I've been pretty cemented in that for really 2 years now has been my take on that. I would love, and another reason that why this is so important is I would love if this starts to just fuel that fire. I do think Jaylen Brown's got some real alpha dog in him that he would like to be the one at some point in his career. I don't think this is going to be a duo that lasts forever, but for the moment, this is who the Celtics have, and the Sixers have to find a way to beat them. This is the one team that can trip the Sixers team up. I really feel that way, that there's no other team remaining or even across the NBA in general have 2 high-level perimeter threats, which is the Sixers' biggest weakness defensively, that have the size, the length, and the depth at the big man spot to make sure to make an impact on Joel. So yeah, I don't know. They got to find a way to get through this. Tatum hasn't been the guy that killed us, but they're finding just enough. And I am impressed with Marcus Smart, man. He's way more than just a grunt guy, just doing his thing. He's a high level NBA basketball player and a huge part of what they're doing. So he's in many ways that emotional leader of their team, which I give him respect for.
Sure, he can have it for now. I'm not going to give Jason Tatum any credit at all. I don't want to hear it right now. I don't want to hear people giving him, praising him That's all I saw today. And I don't know, man. I don't want to hear it. If you're first team All NBA and you're the league's golden child, I don't know, man. Those guys don't normally get passes for going 1 of 17. And had he not been playing like hot garbage, the Celtics would have blew the Sixers out. So I don't know. To me, it's just like whatever. I don't even want to think about it.
He said, humbly, I'm one of the best
Yeah.
basketball players in the world after the game. So respect keeping it humble, I guess,
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. But doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I want to look ahead to game 7 here. I feel like just in general, in my mind, I feel like it's one of those things you got to throw it away. You got to throw game 6 away. It has really no reflection of what game 7 will be. I feel like it's going to look like an entirely different game. Neither team played well. Neither team gave their best shot there. Low scoring, like Boston scored 103 points in game 5, and that was their lowest scoring game of the playoffs. They turned around and scored 91 last night?
95.
95. So even less so. The Sixers score 86, I believe, which is terrible. Like, Jesus. Harden had 45 in a game this series, and they ended with 86 last night. So
got outscored 24 to 13 in the fourth quarter.
That's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good. Like they started the game very badly. They ended the game very badly, which again, shouldn't happen on your home floor, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's over. You go into game 7. What are you looking at to be? I know Joel mentioned a couple of different things. I don't know if you wanted to touch on the 3 things that he mentioned, but just in general, what are you looking for? What would turn the tides in the Sixers' favor for a game 7?
Yeah, so the 3 things Joel mentioned were, number 1, they missed open shots, which he's definitely correct on. Number 2, the ball stopped moving down the stretch. I can also see that as well. And number 3, he didn't touch the ball enough. He didn't touch the ball at all in the last 4 minutes is what he said. I believe he did get a couple touches in there, but he was 0 for 2 from inside the paint in the fourth quarter. That can happen. And a lot of this, I do think, comes back to the knee, the conditioning. But you know what, man? It's the playoffs. You got to find a way. Too often, the jump shot has become so much his bread and butter, which is great. But there's moments where we still need Joel Embiid to look at himself in the mirror and say, I'm the biggest basketball player on the court right now. There's nobody that can handle me when I put my shoulder down and attack the rim, and just do that. That just needs to happen for stretches. And I need him to have a reality check with himself about that. I don't know if it's PJ Tucker whispering in his ear, sweet nothings again, or whatever convinces him to do that. But I just need Joel to do that. And this is absolutely a huge legacy game for game 7. And I know you said you don't think those guys pay attention to that kind of stuff. I think they do more than you give it credit. And Joel has to realize that this is by far the best chance. You've now taken the Celtics team to 6 games without him ever really playing his best basketball. He hasn't throughout this whole series. He's been fine. He has not been bad, but he hasn't had that takeover ability that we hope that he has and that we've seen at moments in time. It hasn't always been in the playoffs. It's been mostly in key games of regular season, but this is the same team that he scored 52 against just a couple weeks ago in the regular season. So you can do it. I need to see it. And to me, that's the biggest thing is I need to see a will to win from Joel that he has not shown yet in the series, a start to finish, killer instinct, step on their next game. And that's the biggest thing to me. If the Sixers go down, it has to be at the hands of Joel Embiid doing everything in his power, because stars win playoff games, and he is our superstar. He is the MVP, and he has to prove that he's ready to go out, leaving everything on the court.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to have to be look, we saw emotion from Joel last night, but a lot of it was directed, I think, in the wrong ways. And I think that was with a lot of this Sixers team. A lot of it was frustration. A lot of it was palms up. A lot of it was officiating. A lot of it was everything but I don't want to put it this way, but dropping your nuts and playing good basketball. He played fantastically on defense. I want him to I want him to dunk on Al Horford. I want him to put his head down, and he did it a couple times last night.
Shimmy.
Yeah, give him a shimmy. Why not? And you saw it a couple times last night where he does the jab step or, the hezzy jab and goes middle, or he'll jab and go left, and he'll take that one big dribble, the power dribble, but then he gets in the paint and he pump. And then Al can just wait, and then pick the ball or swipe. Do it one time and go right up. None of the funny business, none of the messing around, be aggressive. And when it comes down to it, he is an elite mid-range shooter. That's where a lot of the scoring will come from. But you're right. I think he needs to go and really assert his dominance at the rim on both ends, because that's where it's going to come from. And, the 2-man game is great, the pick and roll has been fantastic. It wasn't great last night, but in game 5, it was, it killed the Celtics, absolutely killed them. But what needs to happen there is just the weak side shooting, really, because if the weak side defenders don't have to worry about any of those guys making jump shots, they can just collapse and they can reach and they can help. It's like, it comes down to just making jump shots, man. Like, it really does. And, you're going to have to get some help from guys like Tyrese, and James is going to have to score, and you're going to have those weird in between guys like Melton or Niang or freaking Daniel House, whoever it is. They're going to have to get one of those games from those guys. It's going to have to be that way. So I'm excited for it, man. I'm going to be a nervous mess. Like, I do put on a pretty strong face for everybody here, but I wish you guys could see me watch a game. I am a nervous wreck. I do not handle myself very well. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but I'm excited. I'm terrified, but I am very excited.
Yeah, and the other guy I wanted to bring up, which is Joel Embiid's right-hand man here, is James Harden. It wasn't good enough from James Harden again last night. 4 for 16 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3.
Yeah.
The pick and roll stuff was weird to me because that looked like the cheat code in this series. It looked like there's no way Boston can handle that because both of them are too gifted of players for you to shut down every single option that you can create off a pick and roll look. Last night they were doing a lot of weird stuff where Harden kind of does like the dribble crossover to get a man on his back, and don't like that can create decent looks, and it's more of like a Harden attacking for himself, which I don't hate, but it also takes away a lot of like the spacing that you are supposed to be creating in that 3-point or in the pick and roll. Like it basically forces it into a pick and pop situation, not a pick and roll. Joel's not going to have a chance to get downhill, which to me is the number one goal of the pick and roll. That's, I think, the best outcome that can come from is when you can set Joel up with a lane to the basket. That's the best possible outcome you can get. It kind of takes that away. I don't get it. That happened like 5 to 6 times. It stood out to me of Harden like taking the dribble across his body and getting a guy on his back. So I don't know what that was about. That hasn't been a staple of Harden's game. He's done it for sure. It's not like abnormal, but felt like it was happening too much last night, and that's something that I would like to see taken away. He wasn't a nothing last night like we've seen in some games. Like he had his moments. He did dunk. First time since October.
He dunked.
Yeah.
It was like a dunk too.
It was. I didn't know that he had that in the tank. That was cool. But 0 for 6 from 3 is never going to cut it. Yeah. He didn't have his like the aggressiveness that I like to see that he has shown in these series. So yeah, I don't know. I'm again, this is going to fall on the shoulders of Joel Embiid. This isn't a James Harden loss. He's already won 2 games for us in this series, which is a little hat tip there. But yeah, this is to me the Joel Embiid legacy game come Sunday.
Yeah, I liked your point there about like the Harden snake dribble and how that like kind of cuts off Embiid's role. Because if you do look back at game 5 and they were running it a lot higher, which I think they need to do again. Like Embiid's like low foot should be on the top of the 3-point line. And Embiid would get that like 1 or 2 like real steps, real like lunges towards the basket. And if he was getting the ball and if, whoever it was, Al Horford or Robert Williams, if they were dropping, he is already in his basically like his dribble up to a jump shot, which he is elite at, right? And if they're going to play high, he'll just catch it and take that 1-2 step and he's by you, right? So I think that does come down to the spacing of it. I think Harden was not attacking the rim very well, not getting his usual calls. And like, as much as it's annoying when he does that shit, he does like draw the fouls and they just don't give it to him. There were like at least 3 or 4 times where like he definitely drew the foul. He's drawing it. He's not necessarily getting fouled. He's drawing the foul, which I get is the difference there. But he has to attack the rim aggressively or else like they can just forget about him and they know he's going to pass. And if the weak side and strong side guys aren't going to make the threes, then the pick and roll gets negated because of the fact that nobody has to care about anybody outside. So, I think you hit a couple early threes. Robert Williams has to leave the paint or Marcus Smart can't bite down and you make the swing and whoever it is that, receives the pass can actually make the shot or at least attack the closeout and dribble drive to get to the rim. Then, you see a lot different result. But yeah, it's going to have to get down to that. Like I need to see Harden like make a 3. Last night just like sucked. It was not fun to watch. So I don't know, man. I thought defensively I thought they were really, really good defensively. If you hold the Boston Celtics to 95 points, like you did your job on the defensive end. And even still, you had some lapses. You turned them over so many times. They have 19 turnovers last night.
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
18 or 19, like you turned them over. I thought Harden was even locked in on that end.
Mhm.
Maxey did a really good job. Niang even did a good job. Like the guys that you're not expecting to do a good job have stepped up in that sense. And it definitely helps having a guy like Joel at the rim to defer anyone that gets to the paint, and they do a good job of switching and communicating otherwise. But you got to stay locked in on defense. And I think you just have to rely on your guys to make shots. And
Mhm.
to me, I think they have a lot better chance of making more shots next game than they did this past game.
Yeah, yeah, and it was 18 turnovers, which is a respectable amount there. Celtics still got out in transition a little bit. Only 32 points in the paint for the Sixers, which is not
Yeah.
enough. And this is another directly on Joel Embiid kind of thing. I like to see that number in the 50s, and there's a lot of days where it is. And not to, I feel like I keep circling back to jabs at Tobias Harris, but he missed like 4 consecutive bunnies, man. He just
Dude,
smoked layups.
the
Yeah.
full court lob from
Yep.
Harden was such a beautiful pass.
Yeah, you just have to finish that. Like that it is frustrating. I'm still very frustrated from last night because it was absolutely there for the taking, and
Yeah.
it just didn't happen. And I don't think this is an overreaction to say like they win Sunday. I think that if the Sixers win on Sunday in Game 7, I think they likely win an NBA championship. If they lose Sunday, I think they likely blow up a good portion of this core. So I do think that this game specifically is going to have that drastic of effects. Do you think I'm overstating it a little bit, or what's your mindset on that?
I don't know. The thing is, I really don't know. I think that they could go one at like. I don't even want to talk about if they weren't to come out on a victory on Sunday, like if they come home after Game 7 without advancing, I'm gonna say everything but the L word. If they do not advance, there's a lot of things that could happen, but I also think that they could slightly tweak some things and run it back again because like I feel like this is what they do, right? I don't think if they don't win, Tobias Harris cannot be a Sixer next year. Just thinking about the way that this roster is constructed, like it just can't really happen. I don't think that the money can work that way anymore. 35 million can't be getting you 2 points in a playoff game. Like it just the fact of the matter. But I don't know. I think like I really genuinely don't envision Harden leaving regardless of the outcome of this season. Like Tucker's there for like he's back again for another 2 seasons.
Sure.
Maxey's still an infant in this game. Like they still do have a lot to look forward to with this direct group. I don't know the future with Doc Rivers. I'm assuming that in the instance of a loss, Tobias Harris would be gone. But it's a lot to like. You have to let those things linger for a little bit. You have to like clear up the goggles a little bit before you go back and look at the way that this all happened. But what if they win? What if they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? And what if the Heat lose tonight and they go to a Game 7? And what if there's all these things that could happen? And I'm like losing my mind, like just talking about it. I'm getting freaked out, but it all comes down to Sunday. It really does. And like from an outside perspective, be honest. This is what the NBA wants.
For sure.
This is exactly what the NBA wanted. And I'm not saying things are rigged. I'll never say that. I'll never say that. And I don't even like the refs were bad and annoying in an annoying way. Like the free throws they took off the board and the goaltend was
unbelievable.
The goaltend might be the worst call I've ever seen in my life.
Like,
it was so obviously
close.
not a goaltend. And the official that called it was at half court. Like the guy under the basket didn't call it.
Yeah.
But a guy from 35, 40 feet away is making the call. That seems like you just wanted to put points on the board for Boston. But to me, I don't know. And then you take the Embiid free throws off 3 minutes later. It's like, oh yeah, actually, after we already reviewed this, we did already take 5 minutes to review this, by the way. We're actually going to make the other guy shoot the free throws. So I don't know. It was just a weird game. Nothing felt like it was starting to like snowball.
To take that review on like what was quite literally the clearest clear path foul I've ever seen. Like cut and dry, like could not be more easy to define. They're like looking at it from every angle. It's like, what are you even doing here? And then I don't think I've ever seen them full out take points off the board and make a different play or reshoot free throw. So yeah, there was some bizarre stuff for sure.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It was just like things just didn't go the right way. So I don't know, man. I'm manifesting I'm using all those words. I don't even know what most of them mean, but I'm doing my best. And I actually, this is actually my fault. So I'll tell you why.
Mhm.
Me and my roommate went to a restaurant down the street before game 5, and we got wings. We got wings and a beer. We each got wings and we each got a beer.
Mhm.
And they won, right? They won game 5. So like, you know what? We're going to go back to the same restaurant. It's like, oh, I want to get something different. He got a sandwich. I got a chicken cutlet sandwich. This is
Wow.
my fault, man.
That's messed
I
up.
gotta get the wings. So it's really my fault. I'm sorry to all the Sixers fans out there, but it's actually on me.
I'm shocked right now. I take back every bad thing I said about Tobias Harris. I should be angry at you,
Bad
James.
nothing me, yeah.
Yeah. That's funny though. But so we will pin you down real quick before we get out of here. So game
You know my
7.
answer already. You already know.
Yeah. All right, elaborate. Give me the hype up speech. Get me on board.
Yeah. All right. This team has, they still have fallen into some bad habits, right? And game 6 was a microcosm of that. Just bad offense, no motion. Offense kind of crumbles in the last couple minutes. But this team has been different and more resilient, faced more adversity than I think previous teams have seen, and they have way more firepower offensively and defensively than what other Sixers teams have had. You go into game 7, Boston, as much as we talk about how important this game is for the Sixers, know damn well that Boston is feeling the exact same way. They've already lost 2 games in their own building, 2 out of 3 in their own building. They're not as comfortable as it may seem. Last night, they might act like, oh, they expected to win, and Joe Mazzulla can do his, oh, I'm ready for war thing. I'm not impressed by it. He also beat up a woman in a bar a couple years ago, but we'll let that go. The Sixers have a chance to win game 7 in Boston. And the reason why I think that way is because, like you said, this is a moment for Joel Embiid. This is a moment for James Harden. And this is a chance for them to prove to everyone that has doubted them in their playoff postseason careers, they have a chance on Sunday to flip the script. I think they're going to do it. I think that they win. I will be elated. I might not make it through that game. My heart rate was at like 100 last night during that game. I might not make it through. I've questioned my fandom of this team multiple times over the last 24 hours, but you got to know on Sunday, I will be on my couch ready to go. I'm going to have 12 Buffalo wings before the game to ensure a Sixers win on Sunday. I believe in them. And you know what? When they win, I'm going to choose to be the guy that did not waver, because you see a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people in the Sixers sphere here having jumped ship twice in this series.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you know that we never switched.
Yeah. And I respect all that. I like the hype up. I'm definitely not as downward spiraling as a lot of people are and a lot of that I've seen. But to me, Sunday's a pretty coin flip game. I really could see it going either way. This has to be the Joel Embiid game. This is when we think back to at the end of his career of games that define him. This is absolutely one that will be brought up right at the top of the list. So if he can slay all his demons, beat Boston, a team that has continually tripped him up already in his career, that's a huge statement for the strides he's taken, the work that he's put in. But I need to see it. I need to see the all-out effort. I need to see him looking like the most in-shape human being on the planet for every second that he's on the court. I need to see the positive body language of leaving it all on the floor. And it's got to be him leading the Sixers team to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. It's got to be at least getting by this. So everything has got to be focused on Sunday. Like I said, I do think it's going to have some pretty significant effects for the team. For whichever team does not make it by these, I can't have Tyrese Maxey, who I love. I can't have 22-year-old Tyrese Maxey looking like the most mature player on and off the court, as I felt last night. Even looking at the post-game answers, I liked how Maxey handled himself better than anybody. And once again, like, I love Maxey. I'm thrilled that he's here, but that just shouldn't be his role. There should be guys. I should be feeling more confident about my superstar stepping up here, not him complaining that he didn't get the ball for the last 4 minutes. So go do something. Don't leave any stone unturned. And yeah, we got to see it on Sunday. So we will be back here with some significant reactions one way or another, depending on how that goes. But any final thoughts, James?
Yeah, man. I hope everyone's with me here. I really do. Like, I am excited, and at my core, I am excited for it. Like, it's what you watch for. It's what you're a fan for. I'm trying my best not to think about the bad end of all of this, but I am excited. And, you know, when we look back on all of this, when we look back at the era of basketball that Joel Embiid kind of led here it would be just so like so much vindication lies on this game. There's so much of us that relies on this game. Like this is just like it's the Moby Dick, right? It's everything to us.
white whale.
To beat Boston is the white whale. It's the thing. It is the number one thing. And I just want so bad. I think a lot of us share the same feeling. Like I just want so badly for them to go out there and beat them, and Joel Embiid for him to dominate and show up and like be that guy. So I hope he feels the energy from us. I hope he has the same mindset. Like I need to see the emotion in the right way from him. I'm confident we'll get it. I'm confident. Everyone listening, I hope you're confident as well. Maybe on Monday or whenever it is that we get to talk next, maybe I'm in a much different mindset. But for now, I'm gonna be happy and excited about it.
Yeah, so there we go. Who doesn't love Game 7? This is what we live for.
Yeah.
It's a bummer they had to reschedule Mother's Day, but it is what it is,
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, but I do appreciate all you guys for watching. Make sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment on a score prediction for what you guys got, how you're feeling, and we'll be back probably on Monday with a emotional episode one way or another.
Yep.
Peace.